Hey guys, it's Viejo here, and it is the end of the third week of December in 2023. As I'm working here today, it's a Wednesday and it's raining pretty good. Getting pretty good rain this afternoon outside. But what we're up to today is, if you recall, I received a very, very nice and welcome donation to the channel from Gene over at Reloading from the Hot Pot, and in that care package was 104 rounds of primed 38 super brass, and these were primed with the new White River small pistol primers, which are kind of a new kid on the block as far as primers go, and I've never used them before. So we're going to get to try those out eventually, and it's still going to be several weeks before I can get to the range to shoot anything. And here on YouTube, you may know that I've been doing a series called Free the Few over on the Rumble channel, and I haven't done any of that here on the YouTube channel, but we're going to show you part of that stuff anyway, because I'm going to have to do this in pieces. And what Free the Few is about is me taking some of these smaller containers of cast bullets that I've got that were holdovers from a Moldy Monday, or just some that I'd cast a bunch of and went out and shot and have less than 100 rounds left. So that's the direction that we're going to be going with these 38 supers. I'm not sure how many I've got in there, but it's less than 100, so they won't all get used on there. But I'm going to do this in several steps so that we don't get into too much of a train wreck here on this platform about, Okay, so what I'm going to do today is, when Gene sent those, he said, hey, even though these are primed, they have not been sized, because he didn't have a sizing die for these. So that's what I'm going to do today, is I'm going to size these, and then we'll get the case mouth prepped. All right, so what I'm going to use is this Lyman die. And let me show you what it says on here. And obviously I've got the decapping stem removed. Okay. So Lyman 38 Auto FL. So this is a full-length die. Sizing die. It is not a carbide die. It's a steel die. Okay. And that's going to give me the best, possible sizing on those cases. So because we are using a steel die, and which is non-carbide, we got to lube the cases a little bit before we run them up into the press. So I'm going to use Unique Case Lube here. If these had not been primed, I probably would just spritz them with some Hornady One Shot, but we're going to use the Unique Case Lube, and we'll show you that here in a second. We're going to do this on this old Lyman Spartan press. Okay, this is the little brother to the Spar T, that turret press that you may have seen me use in the past. And if you watch Jesse B Outdoors, he's been using that Spar T press that he got recently. He got a hold of it and has been running it. So we were talking on one of his videos about the Spartan press, so I thought I'd get that one out today. All right, let's get started on this. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get our die started down in here, and we want to come all the way down until it contacts the shell holder. And incidentally, these shell holders, if you have seen me with the other, either the Spar T or this Spartan press, these do not have the spring clip that's common on most more recent presses. Instead, there's a little 3/32 set screw right here, and that goes in just slightly forward of the arc of the base of that shell holder, and it won't come out. I like to leave mine just a little bit loose. That one may be slightly too loose, and that allows my cartridge to go up into the die and float its way a little bit in there. With some of these older presses, as the ram starts getting loose, okay, they'll kind of want to misfeed up there unless we give them a little bit of wiggle room. So anyway, we're going to come all the way down here and we're going to seat this guy down until it contacts the shell holder. Okay, and we're not going to do any cam over on this guy at all. Okay, so what we're doing here is sizing with our full-length sizer die on the old Lyman Spartan press. Okay, I've got a Lee shell holder in there. I have a Redding shell holder, but this stuff seems to like the Lee a little bit better. And just a touch, just a finger touch, okay, in that unique and up into the die, and even with a little bit of case lube on there, you can still hear them squeak. Normally, I wouldn't need to wipe my finger in there every time, but as I'm using that paper towel to wipe the excess off, put it in there. Every once in a while, this guy doesn't want to get started. There's a little bit of misalignment here, so kind of wiggling my handle a little bit lets that guy get started up in there a little better. Some of that is if I don't push the case down in there good enough, you know, it's out just a little bit and doesn't want to line up. And we remove the excess lube off of there. We don't want the cases to stay gooey and pick up dust and everything. One thing you can do to help mitigate sticking as this goes into the die, if you remember, the bottom of this die is just dead flat. There's no cone or anything up in there, so it needs a pretty close to a perfect start. There's no chamfer down there to speak of. So if you get into a situation like this where, you know, the cases just don't seem to quite want to get started, you know, a little bit of a wiggle, and you can't see it down. Well, yeah, I guess you can. Wiggling that handle around a little bit with just a slight amount of pressure, and you can feel that case mouth get started up in there. If you get going too fast and get to slamming these guys in there, you'll end up damaging the case mouth, and I certainly don't want to do that with these, because not only are we talking about the case, but we got a primer in there too that we don't want to sacrifice. Okay. And I'm just dumping these into a bin over here rather than putting them back in my block. Nickel case, they're always a little stiffer. Because the next step is we're just going to take them over to the case prep center and do the case mounts on these guys. Some of them clearly go in there easier than others. Most of these cases are GFL head stamp. There's a couple of others. I spotted Remington Peters and Winchester Western in there, but most of these are GFL. All right, I'll just do a couple more here and then I'll finish up the group and come back to you. I like this die. This is, even though they're a little more trouble sometimes to get the case to start up in there, and the fact that we have to load them, we get a more appropriately sized case, okay, that sizes the full length of the case up and down the whole length of that case. So I just got a little bit of alcohol here, and I can do that with this die right in there. Okay, you can hear from both directions. Okay, a little bit of the alky, and we'll go with a dry end there. That's all we need. Okay, the next thing we're going to do here is go ahead and chamfer the inside edge of our case mouth. That's going to help guide the bullets in there a little better, and then we'll deburr the outside. If these were brand new cases, we'd also come over and uniform the primer pockets, but we're not going to do that because these are already primed. So this will be a little bit noisy. I'll just do a few here on camera so you can get the idea. Okay, so I only do a few turns, like maybe 4 turns 4 revolutions on each one, and that's going to be enough there. We're not trying to turn these into cookie cutters. I think you've heard me talk about that before. And the more meat we take out of that case mouth, the more we weaken the case mouth, and the sooner we're going to start seeing cracks and stuff. So I don't like to do too much. Okay, just enough to help a little bit, about like that. Okay. It is fairly important to hold these down in here as straight as possible, as opposed to getting them in there at an angle. So we want them down in there straight. These cutters will load up with grass after a while. Sometimes you gotta come in here and brush them out. This Lyman Case Prep Center comes with a nice brush that gets in there pretty well. Now that the cases have been sized and chamfered and deburred, the next step is to get the case mouth expanded so that it will accept our bullet. This is the Seiko number 928. It's rated at 140 grains. Mine came out to 141. It's a round nose, slightly bevel based bullet. I don't know if you can see that bevel on there, but I kind of like that. Makes for an easy start into the case. And to do that job, we're going to use a Lyman M die. Okay. This is the same die that we would use for 380 auto or 9mm, same size spud on the end of our stem here. And as far as the adjustment of that die, we run it down until the base of the case just barely touches. It doesn't have to touch the shell holder. And then we're just going to run our case up in there. Okay. And having adjusted it such that our case will just start just like that. It'll stay in there, okay? And we should not shave any lead. We've got just a little bit of a flare on there. That Lyman M die does a 2-step expansion. It expands the case down about this far, and then right up at the top it puts a little step in there. Okay, and it should pop out of there. Okay, about like that. That's what we're looking for. That's a good fit right there. All right. We are set there then. We've got 54 of those nice cases from Gene at Reloading from the Hot Pot. They've all been now sized, chamfered, deburred, expanded, and flared. They're ready for the next step, which will be to load. Okay, folks, there you go. That's all we can show here on YouTube. We're setting up now to do the actual loading of the cartridges, but you'll have to go over to the Rumble channel if you want to see that portion happen over there. I'm going to do this whole video, the whole sequence and stuff will all be in one piece over on the Rumble channel. So go ahead and check us out over there if you have a mind to, but from the Viejo bench, for now, that's all she wrote.